All right, this one was picked by our boy Jaleel, saying Ash should have retired sooner. Also, Horizons by far the best Pokemon anime has ever been. Jaleel,
So this one is a two-parter. I'll kind of give my initial, obviously, off the Ash should have retired sooner. We kind of briefly touched on this. I feel like if there was a perfect time to do this, it was Sun and Moon, right? Leave on a high note. I just became the Alola champion. Perfect. That's when you end it. He leaves on a high accomplishment. Not saying that the world champion's not a high accomplishment. It is. But this is still a good accomplishment. Then you do something like Journeys where you swap up the flow. You do something different. You introduce the concept of a time skip. You say, wow, people, how do you feel about this? The pulse overall right now is pretty good. Then you're like, hey, we want to go crazy for you guys one time. Maybe you shift this a couple years. You bring Ash back, but he's also time skipped up. Then you do a Journey series where he's fighting a world champion and he's had Pokemon for a couple years, like John was saying. So it doesn't feel as rushed and crammed in, and you can do more selective episodes versus like this weird episodic crap we were getting with Journeys.
I agree with that, Jaleel, except I would have done it even sooner than that. I would have had him win the Sinnoh League.
Yeah.
And then he goes away from Black and White. He misses the reset. We get a natural break in the progression for a new protagonist. And then if you want to come back with Journeys in Gen 8 when they introduce Leon as like the strongest trainer in the world. And then you pick up with Ash as the protagonist again, time skipped a few years. He's a veteran trainer now. He's had a chance to like fight Elite Fours and whatnot in the Sinnoh region. Like now is the time to bring Ash back and have him fight the champions. That would have been cool. This is a one-off series.
I feel like when it comes to like Ash and when he should have retired, there's actually like, it's weird. The anime had so many opportunities to make like Ash leave. Like the Sinnoh League would have been perfect to do it. XY would have been perfect as well. Sun and Moon could have. They had 3 chances where like, all right, this is a good time where you can leave him off, and they just refused to do it. And then we get to Journeys where it's like, all right, this is where we're gonna retire him, and we're not even gonna try. It's just really upsetting. Like I feel like Journeys.
Someone in the chat says no, Sinnoh is too early. Dog, that's 12 years. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That's a long time. I don't even think Yugi was around that long.
Pokemon has destroyed people's perception of time, dog. That is not too early.
I think the problem is it's
so
like
late. Actually,
we've had Ash for so long now that like thinking about him leaving earlier just seems too early.
What character progression did Ash have after after Diamond and Pearl? There's no reason to keep him after Diamond and Pearl. Literally none.
Yeah.
Like they literally had to reset him in Black and White, and he kind of had to relearn everything between Black and White and XY. So like XY, he has
progression from Black and White to XY as well.
Yeah.
Like
it became a filler.
I think people just say that because they want XY Ash, and they're like XY Ash was so cool. But realistically, no, his arc ended in Sinnoh. He did. Yeah. I think XY was literally just a repeat of his Diamond and Pearl arc. Like it didn't
after the pool battle, bro.
Yeah, as far as like personality wise,
could have been it. That second part, though.
The second part, on the other hand,
I can't say. Haven't watched.
I don't want to say, like, by far. I think it's a good series. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a really good series, and I like all the twists, the turns, the surprises, and sometimes their lack of surprises. But saying by far, a little crazy. The
series isn't even over yet, bro.
Yeah, it's not even finished yet. But it is definitely, I would put it definitely in like the upper echelon of Pokemon series because it is so different. And maybe because we just know the formula of Ash, 8 badges, league, lose, move on. And the same thing, like this adds like a depth to it. We're actually getting story, we're getting plot, we're getting some deeper rooted characters. Like they're actually like going into those themes that we kind of mentioned earlier. I don't know about that. I do kind of put it up to like maybe like top 3 sounds even like a bit crazy, but like top 3, top 4, I think is where Horizons could sit. Where it could sit.
I will say it is still early. We are kind of now, I guess, past the halfway point. You can argue. We have a whole nother time skip where the story is going to shift completely, so we don't know. This might be ass for all we know. I doubt it with how they've been handling, but we don't know, right? But so far the first half, like just from a story perspective, it's a lot more engaging than like an Ash series. And I can tell you at least it's definitely better than Black and White and Journeys. Like it's got that
hands down,
no matter what, unfortunately.
Out of the park.
What else? Johto can eat dirt, bro. All right, yeah. This ain't touching Johto.
That's my problem, right? Because like I would never say in a million years that the original series is the best series because it includes Orange Islands and Johto.
You can't.
But like, dang, do I love me some Indigo League, man.
Indigo League is
so
it's great.
Indigo League is amazing. Everybody, I don't care. People are gonna come up and be like, but Ash didn't earn 5 of his gym badges. He put the sprinklers. It's not about that. It's not about that. The Indigo League is about showing Pokemon in a new, innovative way, coming up with plots that wouldn't be possible in the games. Everything since then has just been riffing off of Indigo League, okay? Indigo League set the standard.
You're a real Gen 1er, you are, John.
It wasn't trying to gaslight anybody into like thinking it was bigger than it was. It was just like, hey, let's have some good old Pokemon adventures for a good 70 episodes or so.
Yeah, it was very, very classic, very fun. So like
the voice acting and the characters and how they were like interacting with one another, the Pokemon captures, like the funny moments, everything. It just felt.
It's unapologetically goofy, which is what I love about it.
Yeah.
I feel like Pokemon becomes way too serious after that point. Like they bring a little bit of comedy back in Sun and Moon, but like for the most part, I think Pokemon just takes itself too seriously and it's too obsessed with like we gotta show off every Pokemon and show off all these plot points from the games and whatnot. Indigo League was just doing its own thing, man.
Yeah, I think they went too strict with trying to show off everything from the games down to like having Ash do every gym battle and do the league and the evil team stuff that like it became formulaic because Johto, it is boring. Right, but I do enjoy like the gym battles. Like that's where they really started to have a structure where it's like, okay, we're not gonna skip around and fool around with the gyms and do some goofy stuff with the sprinklers or like the fire or whatever. Like Ash is gonna do the gym battles, okay, and then Hoenn is where they really solidified that structure and balanced out the female protagonists and whatever they're doing. To the point where like Diamond and Pearl is just kind of like a better version of like the Hoenn experience minus the filler, obviously. And they kind of just stuck
too much into the formula after AG, I would say.
Yeah, the formula got way too locked in to the point that like when we had a big shift in Sun and Moon, people were like, "Oh, I don't like this. This is stupid. What the heck?" And then we got Journeys, which is like obviously again a bit more different. Where back then Pokemon, it was a lot more free to do whatever they want, and I feel like that's the problem. They locked themselves in a formula, so now anything that's not that, because it's almost like Stockholm syndrome. We've been stuck with this formula for so long that anything that's not that, it's like, well, Ash is supposed to be at the league. Why isn't he at the finals of the Pokemon League yet? It's like it wasn't meant to be that serious back then, bro.
Yeah,
never.
People got way too accustomed to the Pokemon formula and just, that was ugly back then.
Now, what I will say when it comes to Horizons, though, Horizons is very different from like any past Pokemon formula and even original series, and I think it's to its benefit because Horizons definitely feels like it takes more of a structure and it takes elements from a more traditional anime. For lack of a better term, obviously, Indigo League was more goofy, but then like from Johto to like even end up Journeys, it was just Pokemon. It was more like it was more kid oriented because it is made for kids at the end of the day, and like I said before, Horizons is still made for kids, but it takes itself a bit more seriously, and it has like storytelling and structure akin to any other anime that you would see, which I find really interesting. So I feel like that's what makes it refreshing, and that's where the argument comes of like, oh, it might be the best series by far because there's an actual story, there's an actual payoff, there's actual characters with actual depth that's not just like, I want to be a Pokemon master, and that's it. It's like, okay, bro, what? Like, Freed is a really interesting character. Amethio's surprisingly deep. Even Givian, we've learned a bit more about his past in the last couple of episodes. The villain is really interesting. There's twist villains with Spinel, who's kind of betraying now his own leader of the organization. There's a lot of interesting things that this series is doing that they wouldn't have done with the Ash series because a lot of it was very surface level. While this one is just like, oh, this is good food. And it's funny because like as someone who's been watching other anime, expanding my taste back a couple years ago now, I've been watching other things. It's cool to see Horizons. I'm not saying it's on the same tier as like Attack on Titan, Naruto, Bleach, stuff like that. But you know, it is like more akin to what someone would watch when it comes to that as opposed to Pokemon. Because it's funny, I remember I was doing the Journeys reviews, and during that last year, I started transitioning and watching other anime. And then when I go back to watching the Journeys episodes weekly, then it really hit me like how not up to par the Pokemon anime was. Because I was just used to just watching Pokemon back then. So that's all I knew. And then getting other things that's actually good, it's like, oh wow, maybe this isn't so great. So Horizons now, this is like actual food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the biggest weakness still is just the weekly airing. Like, it has to remind people every single week, hey, Pokemon is a brand that exists, so it has to have, like, filler and just kind of artificially extend things. Like, obviously they'll never get away from that. Unfortunately, they're just kind of stuck with that. Like, if they made Horizons like a 25, 50 episode series and just kind of cut the fluff, it'd probably be great. It'd probably be really, really good.
It'd probably be easier for you to watch as well, wouldn't it, John?
It would be. I would actually.
I think that's also perspective is especially if a series is that long with that many arc seasons, whatever, it is a bit more like daunting. You're like, oh man, now I gotta catch up on.
I'm 90 episodes. Years old. I can't watch 87 episodes of Anti-Poke, bro.
Yeah. Especially like for kicking off something like this with like a new protagonist and stuff. I think making it more approachable would have been a safer route to go. In this particular instance, but like for what it is, Horizons is because it's doing something different, and you would think that more would agree with this, especially after coming off the retire Ash. I'm tired of seeing Ash, but as soon as Ash left, like, God, I really do miss that guy. I wish he'd come back.
Everyone's so fake. Everyone's like, "Oh, Ash needs to leave," because they were mad at how Journeys was, and then he's gone. Everybody's like, "I miss Ash. I hate Liko. Horizon sucks. Bring back Ash." It's like, oh my God, like you can never.
Great. Nobody's happy. Man.
Honestly, I think that this roast is overblown. I kind of like this guy's take.
I'm not done.
I haven't even watched Horizons, and I'm kind of siding with him because like it's just outside the box. I mean, it seems cool.
I think that's the part. I always don't want to say by far just because it's not finished yet. I do want to see how this ends.
I don't think it's hard to rank it if it's not done. Like that's kind of the only crazy part here. But saying Ash should have retired sooner, absolutely, and saying that this is one of the best at least, even though again haven't seen it, doesn't seem like an outrageous take.
Yeah,
not too bad.
I will say like story-wise, at least, this is definitely the best story. Period. Because every other Pokemon series doesn't have any story. Like the longest arc is like maybe 4 episodes long in previous series, right? Not counting obviously like the Alola League or the Masters 8 tournament, but like that's usually that's the story, just Ash going to the league, really, and then everything else like side stuff, and the villain plot's like 2-3 episodes. Like in terms of story, this has got every other series beat for sure. But is it the best series by far? It's still a little too early to tell, but it is headed in the right direction to be up there.
It's interesting too because I felt like they were almost teasing it at the end of Aim to be Mid, that like, oh, you saw like the little end card with like Miraidon and Koraidon and Team Rocket like looking for them or something, and we're like, oh, we're about to get this, the stock, Scarlet Violet story. Here comes Arvin, here comes Penny, and like you get none of that. The only like real like remnants of that is you go to Area 0, you get to, like she has Tropicals, but they're like, yeah, there's Paradox Pokemon, but we ain't gonna show you many of them. Like it's just like the most like surface level thing.
I think they only reference the games because they have to.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're like the Pokemon Company's like, bro, like you got to put something in there. We're gonna give you some range.
Please promote our game. We only sold 25 million copies. Please promote it.
Wasn't that like in the Terra League? Are we allowed to talk about that? Yeah, I guess technically.
We're not the hidden pod, but still.
They were just like, oh, like it's weird. Like one of the things they talk about is like it's weird that they haven't really touched on Scarlet and Violet too much. And then when they didn't
like Game Freak or the Pokemon Company say like actually tell them like, hey, you need to promote the game more.
I think it was something like that, or no, I think it was like a conversation where they were saying they're surprised they didn't, and then when they eventually got to the Terrestrial debut arc, which is like really Paldea focused, where they learned to terrestrialize, they're like, oh, they're finally doing it. That's good.
Which they weren't surprised. They were demanding it.
Yeah.
Is honestly was great. Because imagining that they would go and battle every single gym leader in a full battle and then go battle all the like, I think how they structured it was better because we still got to see all those characters without having to watch every single person battle every single character. And I think it was a lot more balanced this way.
And we saw the Elite Four as well, so it was a good way to tie them in.
And you still got the Trounce Gita, who was terrible. So like you really got to see all the characters without having to like go through like the meticulous side of of battling each person.
This is why I can see why Short Story Rocket is saying that they feel like this is the best series. It's because it's unique and it's got elements from the games and the anime mashed together, but it's also got its own unique take on it, and that's why it's been very engaging and enjoyable to watch. So
I think it would have been very predictable if it literally just went the Scarlet and Violet route. Like, all right, here's Liko. She's gonna do the 8 gyms and fight the Titans and fight Team Star. It's like, well, I did this already. And like
Yeah.
I like the approach that they're going, where it's basically implied that the events of Pokemon Horizons are supposed to take place after Scarlet and Violet. So you're supposed to play Scarlet and Violet, the DLC, and then you watch Horizons, because of like just the way the characters are. Like a Briar already knows of Terrapagos. The Kitakami stuff, they're not doing the Festival of Masks anymore, which explains why the Ogerpon stuff hasn't happened. When you notice, Penny, Arvin, and Nimona are friends. They're together. They don't become friends until you meet them, obviously, in the events of the game. So the fact that they're together here implies that like they've went through that stuff already. So like there's like lots of hints throughout the series that tell you about like stuff that happened. Like if you played Scarlet and Violet like from start to finish, it's like, oh, I know what you're talking about. So it's like it's supposed to be kind of like after that. So I think
Penny's
that's
also
really interesting.
the engineer now as well. She's
Oh yeah, she works for the league already, which that happens
So,
at the end of the game. So like so I think that's really cool. It makes it less
cool. It's almost like epilogue content.
Yeah, exactly. It's more world building. It's akin to like I guess the Paldean Wind series, or like any of the other online series, where it's like it's not a direct adaptation. It's more of just like
honestly
extra
wish
content
that
that fleshes
all
the
the
world.
series would have done that, because it kind of sucks having to be like, well, I beat the game this week and Ash is not even halfway to the first gym yet. You know?
Trying to play at Ash's speed.
Speed up the pace.
Oh man.
Damn.
Make my Pokemon adventure 385 hours long.